What up, fellow nerds? Welcome back to another episode. Let's dive into some nerd shit. First and foremost, Spider Man 2 dropped last week. A game that me and Joe have been waiting on for a while. Obviously, from the last episode, you all know that we got the custom Spider Man 2 PS5s for this game. Joe has the kick ass PS4 Pro for Spider Man, so it only makes sense for him to get the PS5. And then I'm a huge stickler for limited edition consoles, so I was like, I gotta get this one. So far, me personally, I don't have much time into the game. I'm like right at an hour in, but so far, I mean, the opening cinematic, you're just like, all right, I wasn't ready for that. Wasn't ready for that at all. And I mean, it's really cool how you're flipping back and forth between being Miles or being Peter. My one thing that I am kind of 50-50 on right now is the point system for your player to build out your attributes. So there are three different ways to build a character. So they have attributes for Peter, attributes for Miles, but then they have attributes that go to both characters. So it's really making you think about how you want to build out your character and who you really want to run with. So I'm curious to see as the game gets more further in how they're going to do that dynamic. Like, because I feel like you don't want to have one character just super built and then the other one is like super weak, and you got to flip to that character and they don't have any attributes. And you're like, oh, I'm going to get my ass kicked. But then you also don't want to worry about making them too even, because then you're like, well, which one do I use? You're flipping back and forth, flipping back and forth. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to do that dynamic. It's definitely different. But so far, Spider-Man 2 is living up to the hype, in my opinion. Like Miles Morales was my favorite. Spider-Man 1 was great. Miles Morales was off the chain, and this one so far is right up there with Miles Morales, in my opinion.
I feel like I could talk about this forever. So, yeah, with the point system, it's interesting because, like, yeah, I'm probably a little further in it than you. I've had a whole lot of time, maybe 2.5, 3 hours. So, yeah, I mean, I was kind of feeling like, how are they going to do the flipping between the characters? And so far, I feel like they have their own missions, but then they take point on different story arcs. And we already know from the trailer that at least Peter gets the symbiote, and he changes. And I feel like there's a lot of build up to that. And then there's also some other dynamics. So, I mean, again, I'm not that far in to comment too far on that, but I feel like they're doing a good job so far of like, when do I switch to Peter? When do I switch to Miles? And I feel like they have independent side missions, where you, like in the old games, you had the yellow triangle, not triangle, but diamond, and that was your main mission. But then you had the blue ones, so those were
right.
Tombstone and shit like that. So I feel like they've done a good job so far, but really I don't know where it's going because I feel like they've surprised me so far. I mean, I was surprised. I'm not going to bring anything up because I hate spoilers, but the beginning was fucking epic. I was not expecting that, but I should have expected that because they deliver. Insomniac is
Facts.
I definitely stepped it up. So yeah, so far gorgeous. So I was swinging and I saw this building and I was just like, why does this building look stupid? It looked weird. Like, what's wrong with this building? But then you got closer and it was just because the whole side was glass and there was various shades open and you saw all the different things in the building. And now we have people in the building. So people just watching TV.
Dope.
And I was like, oh, it doesn't look stupid. It's just, you can see in it. And I was from a distance and I'm like swinging. I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, oh shit, that's awesome. I mean, that just shows you how much processing power and how much that the PlayStation 5 could really deliver all that rendering. But yeah, it was just, I was like, that's crazy. So yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think I don't really know what people would say bad about it at this point. I feel like there's a lot going on. I mean, usually it was kind of slammed in there. I feel like multiple story arcs, but you get that in any kind of comic book, movie, or whatever, or game. Yeah, very excited without giving anything away, but I'm still tripped out that they changed Peter Parker's face. I don't know if you played the original where it was like you got used to that guy.
I played the original, the OG.
And it threw me off because in Miles, yeah, you just see the mask, I think. But then like, and I started playing it again, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Who's this guy?
Yeah.
But yeah, because I didn't play the I didn't replay it on the PlayStation. But so yeah, awesome. I feel like maybe when we get further down, or if we get to the same point here in a couple weeks, we'll probably have more to say when it's
For
out.
sure.
So I feel like there some of the trailers now are giving away the opening scene, but definitely if you're going to play it, don't stay off of social media and try to get any spoilers, because I was pleasantly surprised, and I like stuff like that where I wasn't expecting it. And yeah, awesome game so far.
Yeah, the opening sequence was my all-time opening sequence of a video game was Uncharted. I think it was Uncharted 2.
Two.
And yeah, and I had never played anything that epic before. I was just like, this is insane. And this was on that level because they just came out swinging. You're just like, oh, so this is just gonna be like this now. Okay. So for anybody that's playing it, I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are, and we're definitely going to keep coming back to it the further we get into the game, because this is probably one of the most anticipated games we've played so far since the PS5 dropped. Like I said, the first game I played when I got my PS5 was Miles Morales, because I loved Into the Spider-Verse, or not Into the Spider-Verse. Oh yeah, Into the Spider-Verse. Sorry, the first one, because I was thinking of Across the Spider-Verse, but I that is one of my favorite Spider-Man movies of all time. I just thought it was brilliant, and the game just captured that as well. So hope you all are having as much fun as we are having with it. Next thing we want to get into is, obviously me and Joe are big Apple heads. Mac dropped an event on us kind of out of nowhere. I won't say it was out of nowhere, but it was definitely not their norm. It's very close. Yeah, it was very close to their original one, and they don't do that to their last one that they had. So this event is taking place, I think it's October 29th.
Monday.
Am I right on that? Monday, yeah.
Monday at night.
Yeah, at night, a night event, like at 5 p.m. Eastern, or Pacific, so 7 o'clock, I think, our time. So the speculations that I've heard is that this is going to be about their new M3 chipset, allegedly. And this chipset is supposed to be more geared towards gaming. If you all watched the last Apple event, they really touched on the last Apple event of computers, sorry, because the last one was about the iPhone and stuff. The last Apple event about computers, they really touched on getting into gaming, like serious gaming, not like, oh, just mobile gaming. Like we're talking trying to get into the actual gaming of like the Windows world. And then they also, during the Apple event for the iPhone, they talked about the iPhone Pro being able to play some flagship games. Like one of the big flagship games, Resident Evil 7 Village, or Resident Evil 8 Village, sorry, not 7, 8 Village, is coming to iPhone Pro. Like, that's going to be huge for a phone to run a game like that, because that game is gorgeous. Like, I have it on PS5, and it is damn. So the fact that a phone will be able to render that will be insane. But that's the speculation, is that this is going to be geared towards gaming. So it's weird. Apple doesn't do events like this, so it's like I don't know how to feel. Like I feel betrayed, because it's like normally I'm really good about my rumors, and I'm like, you gave me nothing, Apple. You gave me nothing. You just dropped this on me.
So the one thing from I was really surprised. But then they show the Apple logo, then they flip it to the Finder. So the Finder face, which I've always thought was weird, but so yeah, like, so there has to be some Mac in there. So maybe they push for the Mac on that. But I also feel ever since they came out with the Apple Silicone, they've been, which is amazing, they've just been flying through that. Oh, now we have 3 nanometer. Nobody's had that.
Yeah.
Nobody had 5 nanometer. Like, they're just like, we're on top of the world, and we just keep climbing while everybody else is here. So I just like, man, you guys are just gunning it. So they have to have like a far off agenda, and it could be gaming. And they've done that push with Apple Arcade, which has some really good titles. So I mean, with that, they have shown that they want that, a piece of that pie. Not that they need any more pie, but but like, yeah, it's just like, but I don't know. It is curious. I would like to be able to, I love getting all those like free Steam games and being like, your system can't run it. I'm like, I know, just put it on my tab with the other 500.
Right.
So yeah, it will be interesting. I think it'd be nice to see. I mean, they've kind of released everything. We've got new chips, new Macs, the Mac Studio, the new Mac Pro. I mean, what we have left is maybe just adding that M3 chip into some new laptops. And we haven't seen a 27-inch iMac,
So
right?
yeah, that could be
From a
coming.
while.
Yeah.
I'd like to, because yeah, I mean, I want a Mac Studio, but it'd be nice to, for some users or audio users or video users, to have an Apple Silicon iMac Pro, a new a nice setup to where they can just have that. That'd be interesting too. So,
But see, I think they have the M1 on an iMac, but I don't think the M2 is on
no,
iMac.
it's still an M1, so those need a refresh. And but like I said, they've only been the 24-inch. We haven't.
Oh yeah, you don't have the 27 Pro.
We haven't had one. So ever since the iMac Pro, there hasn't been a powerful 27-inch. So I'm probably wrong, but I'm gonna guess maybe an M3 and a 27-inch, or just a refresh in general.
My only pushback against that would be they came out with that XDR display, and then they created the Mac Studio, which is super powerful, mm-hmm. and they have the Mac Pro, which is we don't even want to talk about how powerful that thing is. And that could be their reason why they haven't released the 27. It's like, well, you can just buy our Uber monitor and then a badass computer, and there's your badass iMac. And I get it because the iMac is all in one. You get everything in a nice, neat package, so you don't have to worry about buying two separate devices. But that is just my take on it. Is just like, now I can see them doing the iMac Pro if maybe the XDR display isn't selling well, or the Mac Pro or Mac Studio isn't selling well, and they're just like, look, we need to get something that's more in a compact package, where you're not having to buy two devices instead of one.
But then there's price point. So the XDR display is what, $1,000?
No, it's more than that.
So is it a $10,000 monitor?
It's not $10,000, but it's I think it's like $4 or $5,000.
So you take that, and then like a really good Mac Studio, I would say about $4,000. So
I built one and it was $6,500.
No, yeah, you can go high. It can go high,
right?
Just for what I needed, affordability for what I want to get, because Mac Studio is on my list. But yeah, I was like, I can $4,000 for a really good setup to run good video and audio. But then then you add something that's pretty pricey. So if you take you do a good M3, even a regular M3 on a 27-inch, you're looking at $3,000. So I mean, but then you got to buy another monitor or whatever. But yeah, right. I'm curious. So I think definitely the speculation is the M3, but it's that. But I didn't know about the Resident Evil on the phone, so that makes me curious. But we did get the little Finder dude at the end of that event, so I am curious. It is a weird night event, so that nobody expected. So I'm excited. I like surprises.
I think it's also Apple's flex. Like, we still got the game on lock. Like, we just did a big ass event for our watch and our iPhones, and not even a full month later, we're like, oh yeah, hey, we're gonna do a surprise event for you mofos.
Yeah, we're making so much cool shit that we have to have another one by the end.
I think it was a little over a month. I think the other one was like September 13th, and this was like
September,
the end of October.
Yeah.
So I mean, but it's still the fact that I think it's just kind of a flex for Apple to just like, yeah, we're killing it. Because I have an Apple M1 Max in a laptop, and I got to tell you, this thing, for as powerful as my gaming rig back here is, my MacBook runs circle around it, and it's not even funny. Like, at least processor wise, like the silicone chipset is a game changer. And this is crazy, and I don't think it'll ever happen. But I'm just thinking, like, what if the silicone becomes so damn good that Windows machines are like, so Intel, I think we're gonna go to ARM. So thanks for all the hard work, but we're gonna move over to silicone and go to ARM64, because the M chipsets are just, I mean, dude, the processing power is insane. They run cool. They don't run hot anymore at all. Like, my M1 Max is so efficient, it's not even funny. Like, and I got like more entry level, like only got like 32 gig of RAM, terabyte hard drive. I didn't even go bonkers with it. So I could imagine if I went all out. Like, we just ordered a Mac Studio at our office, and like, I mean, this computer is damn. It has the M2 Max in it. or the M2 Ultra in it. It has 128 gig of RAM, like 10 terabytes of storage. Like this thing is insane, and it's just like I want to play with it. I just want to see how many 4Ks I can hook up to it and get it to just render at 8K. Like I just want to test the power. So, but no, I'm excited for the event. I think it's gonna be dope, and I think Apple's gonna drop some crazy shit on us, and everybody's gonna be like, what? So, looking forward to it. Make sure we tune in, and then we'll follow up with you all next week. Just share with you what Apple shared.
All right, for crazy thought on that one, they might also at the very end announce that they're buying Disney.
What?
Just, you heard it from me first.
I don't
first, but they sold them Pixar, and then 20 years later they buy Disney.
Yeah.
So Apple will rule the world after that. So
they are the most profitable tech company in all of the world. Like I think they even beat out some tech companies in China. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, we'll definitely bring it up, and if there's anything cool or unexpected, we'll definitely talk about it next week. So
for sure.
All right, our last segment, cars. Lots of new things out in the world. First of all, because I know you and I, we kind of like the same people. The disqualification from the Austin American GP. Our boy Hamilton worked his ass off and got second place. Thankfully not first, because I think someone would set some shit on fire. But then was one of the few randomly selected people to check their skid plates, and he was disqualified, which Charles Leclerc. And I just think it's interesting that it's a random selection of only like 4 or 6 people, and those 2 were in violation. So right there, before I hand it over, we'll have a lot to discuss, but if you find there's a violation there and you already have 2 people, because you don't see that happen very often. I think it happened to Vettel 2 years ago or something, 2-3 years ago. But yeah, wouldn't you want to check everybody's in that point? At least your race leaders, your top 10 in the points. So I don't know. I'm curious on your thoughts on that.
First and foremost, my heart was broken when I got the ESPN alert that Lewis had been heartbroken or been disqualified. As Joe said, we have specific people that we like in F1, and I will not ever hide that I love Lewis Hamilton. Sir Lewis Hamilton. Let's get that right. But he's my guy, and I just love that, he came back this year and he's still competing. He didn't give up. And he raced his ass off last Sunday. Raced his ass off. I mean, the strategy to pit was a little iffy. I was a little worried about that, but he made it up. And I mean, he was gaining on Verstappen. If they would have had like 2 more laps, he would have passed Verstappen, I swear. So I was super happy he ended on a podium. He got second, P2. I was great with that. That's great points. Helps Mercedes move up in the Constructor Series. And then 24 hours later, I get the ESPN alert that he'd been disqualified and stripped of the pole. And I almost threw my phone. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And so then I started reading into why he was disqualified. And it's about it's called a plank that's underneath the car. And if the plank is not it wears by 4 holes, and the holes must be a certain millimeter, and they can't be a certain millimeter by the end of the race. And in his case, and in Charles Leclerc's case, the minimum that it can diminish by is 9 millimeters, and theirs was further than 9, so it diminished more. So F1 claims that it gives you an advantage, but it also makes it dangerous. It gives you advantage, meaning that the car can be faster, but you can produce less downforce, which can cause you to have an accident. F1 claims that they checked Hamilton's car, Leclerc's car, Verstappen's car, and Lando Norris's car. Mercedes and Ferrari were the only 2 teams that allegedly were in violation. So if you read into the article, they had these shootout in Circuit of the Americas. And when they did the shootout, normally they get 3 practice sessions per race weekend, and then Sunday is the race. Well, when you have the shootout, you only really get 1 race, like 1 practice session, a qualifying round, then the shootout, the sprint shootout, and then the race. Basically, when they do the sprint shootout, Park From is enforced, and Park From is kind of like you can no longer make changes to your car once this is in place. So basically, when they did the sprint shootout, Mercedes was not able to switch out the plank for the next race, for the race the next day. Therefore, their plank wore more than what they probably were hoping for, and hence the violation. I get the rule. I understand rules are rules. And if they say that Mercedes and Ferrari were in violation, and Mercedes came out and said, "Hey, this is why we're in violation. We're not denying it." But I just feel like it made it unfair. Like, change the rule. Like, then get rid of the shootout or something. Do something to where they can adjust this. So you don't let a team work their ass off that Sunday to get podium and then just take it away. That's my feelings on it. And it may be a little too personal, but that's my feeling. I feel like they just did some bullshit to like pull Hamilton off podium, which I'm sure they didn't, but I just feel that way because I love Hamilton.
They seem very biased towards him, but I mean, Toto took one to the chin and was like, we got it wrong, but he also made the point of, like, you kind of touched on what you said. When you have upgrades, usually you have the three, like tomorrow they get 3 laps, they get 3 practice sessions to figure their shit out. Then qualifying. So I mean, they had 1 practice session on Friday. So like you didn't get a chance to really figure out your car. And I feel like I'm not a fan of the sprint shootout.
I'm not either.
I just like race weekend. If I had a 3-day pass, just give me qualifying, give me practice sessions, and give me the race. There's nothing wrong with that format. We don't need more fucking points on the board.
It's one of the few things that I agree with Verstappen on. Verstappen hates the shootout, and I agree with him on it. Like,
or do something different, like do a reverse track, like they do in fucking video games. Like, change it up. It's just like, oh, there's 19 laps, and it's like nobody can really get anywhere because if you get pole, it's kind of like doing a Monaco race. You're going to have an advantage, and it's going to be hard to make up those places. Not that it's worth a bunch of points, but no one's a fan. I think it's annoying. So yeah. So if it's danger, when you make upgrades and you don't get a chance to set your car properly for a track, I mean, that's kind of F1's fault because they're doing the sprint shootout. So that it's really on them too, because you didn't give the time proper on a normal weekend. And that should be anybody, because each track you have to change your wing, your aerodynamics. You have to look at the weather. How much downforce do we need? What kind of setup do we need? That's what fucking Friday's for, is figuring that out to set you up for the qualifying and the weekend. So having the sprint and then not being able to do that and then disqualifying is kind of the bad taste for me. Is, like Toto said, he took it well, like, oh, we got it wrong. But at the same time, they showed that those upgrades are looking good.
They're working.
So
they're working.
So I think that's good.
Yeah. I think that if, like you said, normally they get 3 practice sessions, a qualifying, and then the race. And Park Farm doesn't go into effect until qualifying. Well, in this case, they consider the sprint shootout part of qualifying. So the rules go into place right there. So, and Mercedes said this track is one of the bumpier ones, so it hit the plank a lot more than normal. So their wear was worse. So by the time the end of the race on Sunday, they were below the 9 millimeters. So it's like, if you're going to do that, you need to allow teams to adjust for the race, because you only gave them 1 hour long practice session. How is that fair? I understand they race these courses every year, but the cars change every year. So what happened last year is going to be completely different than this year. Your car is going to have a different behavior. And you're going to tell me an hour long practice session and then a 19 lap sprint is enough for them to figure it out when you don't let them figure it out after the sprint? Like, make it make sense. Get rid of the shootout. Fuck the points. You're going to get enough points winning through the season anyway. Get rid of the shootout. You're just trying to drum up more interest, and it's not. It's killing the sport.
Yeah.
So
it just seems lately like every FIA rule change or whatever, it's now Hamilton is down 2 races from the points from Checo. So again, now we're benefiting Red Bull. It just seems like the big changes have all benefited them. That's just an opinion, but so now he has to work even harder, so, and then now we have this home race. But since we're talking about the Mexico race,
I'm excited for it, but
racist mummy Marco. Yes, I'm blatantly saying this because of his earlier comments. He's apparently hired bodyguards for Verstappen because Checo's fans in Austin booed him like he's never been booed every time before.
Dude, I read that and I was just like, pardon my French, but I was like, so you're this much of a bitch that you can't handle people booing at you, bruh? That you want to change the sport? Like, this is the part, like, fans are passionate about their. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, finish your point, because I got shit to say.
We'll let you vent. But yeah, okay, so yeah, so he's hiring bodyguards because apparently he's. So to refresh, Marco a couple months ago said something about, we might have even brought it up on one of our podcasts, but basically said that Checo will never be as good as Verstappen because he's from, I forget the wording, but like he's from South America, which Mexico is not in South America. And basically saying, he's, because it's part of the world and ethnic heritage, he is not as good as white boy Verstappen. So yeah, everybody was kind of, even Hamilton was like, yeah, no. And so now this is happening. And I was just like, that's just fueling the fire. Yeah. And before I'll let you get off, I just want to finish one thing.
No, go for it, man.
No. It's just, because it's probably going to fuel you a little more. People have been booing Verstappen since last year, probably since 21. And I remember that let's use Monza. F1 or whatever, whoever runs the audio has been, you can hear it during these ceremonies. If you listen at certain tracks, they mute the crowd because people are booing. People have been booing Verstappen for 2 years. And so to keep the media, ever since that time in Monza with Leclerc, they've been silencing it. And like, you didn't hear it on the radio. I mean, you kind of heard it during the podium ceremony, but yeah, so they've been masking the boos. So Marco being a bitch and trying to hire security when it's not like Verstappen doesn't get booed all the time anyway. So, and again, I just feel like that's kind of going to fuel the racial comments, because I don't know why Verstappen needs bodyguards. Like, a bunch of Mexican people are going to attack Verstappen for some reason. But go ahead.
Well, Verstappen is claiming that the bodyguards are just to make his trip smoother. Nah, you're afraid that the Mexican people are gonna fuck your bitch ass up because they don't like you for the way you treat Perez. Like, Perez is a great driver, and you treat him like a fucking second class citizen. I will never forgive Verstappen for last year. I think it was at the Mexico race, if I remember correctly, that Sergio didn't give up his position to Max, and Sergio won the race. Sergio is last year's winner of the Mexican Grand Prix. Am I wrong? Did he not win last year?
No.
Who won last year?
Verstappen.
Was it Verstappen?
He was supposed to give up a place so he can get more points in the final, and then Verstappen was bitching about Monaco. Like, I'm gonna do this anyway. So he didn't.
Yeah, there was one instance where Verstappen was upset that Checo didn't cede position to Verstappen, and Verstappen on the radio said to the team, like, this will never happen again. Don't ever let this happen again. And it's like, how much of an asshole can you be to your teammate? And you want to say there's no friction, there's no beef between you all? Like, if I was your teammate, I would have got back to the paddock and we would have thrown hands. Like, we would have been fighting. I would have said, turn the cameras off, close the garage, me and you one-on-one, you about to catch some hands. Like, you're not about to talk to me like I'm less than you. I'm just as much of a man as you are on this track. I do everything that you do on this track. Like, it's not my fault that fucking Red Bull gave you the better car, and my car has been shit.
Facts.
But then it's the fact that Verstappen is upset that people have been booing him at tracks. And it's like, okay, you right now are the most dominant man in F1 right now. For the past 2 years, you have been dominant like none other. You're going to get hate, man, because you're dominating people's other favorite drivers. So it's a part of sports. He's like, I think that it shouldn't be in F1. I don't think it should be in any sport. Then you're not a true sports person, because sports is about passion. I watch sports because I'm passionate about the team that I'm rooting for. And please believe, if I go to a live event and the team that I'm rooting for is playing against the other team and that other team does something, I'm going to boo the shit out of them, because that's part of sports. You're supposed to boo. Like, you're voicing your displeasure for it's not that we hate the other team. It's not like we want harm to them, but we definitely don't want them to beat our team. And the same rules apply to F1. Hamilton's my guy. I'm always going to root for him. And I'm always going to root against you, because you are his direct rival, whether you want to be it or not. So if I come to a race and I see you get podium, you best believe I'm going to be down there at the podium ceremony booing your ass. That's what I'm going to do. And if you can't take it, maybe you don't need to be an F1 driver. Okay? All right? If you can't take criticism, get the fuck off the grid. Real talk. All right? Like, don't do this shit like we need to stamp out booing. Grow the fuck up. Like, oh man, like reading that just pissed me off to no end. I was like you don't hear any other driver talking about this shit. Any other driver. And you know Verstappen's fans hate Lewis Hamilton. Boo him, say racist shit to him and all, but do you hear Verstappen talking out about it? No. Of course you don't. That's my piece. I'm done. Rant over.
No, I'll just get to kind of piggyback on that. Yeah, it's like, he's such a shitbag. He talks shit and he's mean to his team. He's mean to his, like, you hear him on the radio. So shut the fuck up. Like, only other person who's like that is Yuki, and Yuki's Yuki. But like, he doesn't understand why he has no personality. He has no, it's just a lot of things. Is he a great driver?
He can never be the face of F1 ever.
He's a great driver. I am not. He's come up. I'm not doubting his talent.
Hell of a driver, dude.
Most boring champion I've known. It's just like, I mean, it's just zombie mode, and like everybody, it's no excitement, and I don't know, hiring the bodyguards, and you have to make an announcement, or it's that's where it is. If you wanted to hire security to protect your guy, then hire security to protect your guy. Why does anybody know about that? How is that known? You know, we should be finding out about that on Sunday, or Saturday, you know, when, like, why does Verstappen have people with him? Then we'd have talking points and we'd find out. But the fact that we already know before they're even in Mexico is crazy. So yeah, I just think, I'm not a Marco fan. I'm not a Horner fan. It's funny. I like Verstappen more than I like Marco and Horner. I think it's him coddling Verstappen that's, you know, just made it worse, and that is dad. But yeah, so I hope, for God's sake, someone to beat him again. I hope Checo wins. That'd be awesome. Because
I'm rooting for Checo this weekend. I mean, I'm always rooting for Hamilton, but I'm rooting for Checo too.
I like Checo, and I like a lot of the drivers. I like most of the drivers.
Piastri, like on McLaren, I love that kid.
Yeah,
he is a badass.
Yeah, I'm a Norris fan, but like Piastri is a future champion, and Russell better look out, because he's gonna miss a shot if Piastri.
I like George too, but I need George to be a little more aggressive. Like, I want George to be a little more cutthroat on the track. Like, I'm not saying you need to be an asshole, but like, I want you to be more of a go-getter. Like, go grab that shit. You know, I think that's what I liked about Bottas, is that Bottas, when he was on Mercedes, he was a go-getter. Like, you know, he really, really pushed Hamilton into Mercedes, and I want to see George take more of that role. So yeah, I think it's gonna be an exciting race though. So definitely gonna tune in. And so lastly, we just want to touch on this real quick before we end it tonight. 2 cars that we saw concepts at the Tokyo Audio Show this year. That kind of made us, we wanted to talk about these 2 cars because it's from 2 very storied car makers, and that these car makers are huge in Japan. One of them's huge over here. The other one's kind of fallen off, sadly, so it needs to make a comeback. Honda and Mazda debuted 2 cars. Honda debuted a concept Prelude For those who don't know, Prelude is an old school name here in America. I'm sure it's old school over there in Japan, but it was their old school coupe back in the day. That Preludes were kind of badass. It was the original two door Honda.
20
You
years
know,
ago.
two door Honda with a back seat. Let's take that out. Let's take that in consideration because I don't think the CRX did not have a back seat. But yeah, and then Mazda. I will let Joe talk about Mazda because Mazda is his love. And I'll talk about the Prelude, and we'll kind of see where we come at in the middle. So the Prelude, it's going to be a hybrid electric coupe. Honda says they want to get back to their sporting roots with this car. So a lot of people are kind of excited because, it's a hybrid sports train. So it's going to have some nice power numbers. With it being hybrid, it can also be all-wheel drive instead of front wheel or rear wheel drive only. I personally like the styling of it. I think it's kind of sleek. It's modern. It does kind of give me a vibe of a Subaru BRZ, Toyota GR86. But I think Honda can come up with a little better styling and a better lot. I love the blue accents in it. I love the white. Again, I'm just really excited for the powertrain. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with the engine and what kind of power numbers this thing's going to put out. If it can put out better than the Integra Type S or Type R and the Honda Civic Type R, I think we're going to be in some really good waters there. So that's kind of my thought on the Honda. What are your thoughts on the Honda?
On the Honda, it looks like a friggin' Prius.
This guy.
The one thing I liked about it was the blue little middle part and the blue Brembo brakes. That's it. It looks like a Prius. Right, it reminds me of like the Mustang electric thing, the Mach Cherry or whatever the hell it's called. Or the old Eclipse. It's like they take a name and they just
put it on
try to make like a little crossover. I mean, it's not as big, but yeah, and like the back end, the light bar. So I'm like, oh, the Prius looks sporty, but it's still a friggin' Prius. I'll never buy it. And now like Honda's like, oh, it's weird. It looks like the new Prius, and I don't like the front end. Like it kind of has an Audi TT feel, body wise, a little bit from the side, just the shape. But I am curious because you said it's all electric.
Oh no, it's going to be a hybrid.
Oh, it's
so it's electric and gas.
So I mean, I have to see more of it, but like maybe in another color. But yeah, I was expecting something more with the Prelude name, honestly, because this Prelude was a car I always wanted. I always wanted that, the one with the square lights.
Yeah.
And, like that's the one I never afforded as a kid, but that was like always a goal. So I'm like, ooh, Prelude when you told me that. And then I'm like, what the hell is this? So I just feel like some companies are going a different direction, but they said it's supposed to be like, yeah, badass, but I'd have to see it on the track. And, I can't hate Honda because that Civic Type R was smoking my car and all the other ones with the front wheel drive. So, I mean, it's not like Honda doesn't know what they're doing. So I'd be interested to see if it's one of those things that would grow on me, or, it'd have to be a monster. So
now let's talk about your car.
I'm trying to remember all the cool stuff with it. So, all right, I am a former owner of an RX-8, and I love that car. That car lasted me like almost 10 years, and all I had to change was a water pump. So I'm a big fan of Mazda, just because I feel like as a company, Mazda, they're kind of an underdog, and they've always just cared about style, function, and racing. Because there's race cars, and so weird design choices, great concepts that don't always come to light. But yeah, so Mazda's been kind of out of the sports car game for a while, and because of that rotary, it was just a good choice to get rid of it. I wish I would have kept it, but just really couldn't afford to have it sitting around. I saw this, and what I find interesting is because of the rotary, it would have to be Mazda. Okay, Mazda has always been about we're never going to do EVs because we just want to rethink fuel. So what I find interesting about this is that it's a dual rotor EV that's self-charging. and that the fuel apparently is a bio-engineered smart fuel. I remember I forget what they called it, but it's like a better fuel. So they're trying to make this really interesting like engine that basically just runs. It's supposed to like just have crazy power. I think they said 380 horsepower, but out of an EV with like special fuel. And to me, body wise, I think it looks really cool. That's what I expect. They have the Kodo design, the flow of motion. They've had a couple names over the years, but it looks like a Lotus Elise, which I'm a fan of because I feel like the Mazda will be quality build. Like I like Lotus, but I just heard bad things. It's up there with like Tesla and build. It might just break or your floor will fall through. I think it'd be better quality build than say the Lotus. So like I'd feel confident buying from Mazda because I'd still respect and like Mazda as a company. But yeah, will I fit in it? I'm 6'2", and I would not be. You wouldn't catch me in a Miata or MX-5 because it's not going to happen. I mean, even in my RX-8, I was touching the roof. So tall hair, I mean, it was there. Our friend Ryan barely fit. He's taller than me, and he's like, I want to go for a ride, and yeah, he's like, didn't fit. So I don't know if I could even get this car, which makes me very sad. But yeah, design wise, very cool. I know it won't look like that. The inside is nuts. I really wish people would make concepts or just really close to that, and they never do. But Mazda at least keeps the general design. But if they does go to production, it's going to be a powerhouse because if you have a Miata-sized Mazda with 380, 350, 365 horsepower.
I would definitely say it is a way more beautiful car than the Prelude. The Prelude is definitely styled more for the masses. This is more styled for the extremists, like somebody that wants their car to have an edge, which, like you said, Mazda's always been very particular about their styling. Their cars are made to look like they're moving even when they're not. So a couple of quick hits. 364 horsepower. It is a hybrid powertrain, but it'll be able to have off-board power. So they're saying that it could be a plug-in hybrid, but they're not sure yet. And then so in the article I'm reading, they don't mention the fuel, but they just say it'll burn fuel like hydrogen. So it's like, what kind of fuel are you going to use then if it burns fuel like hydrogen? Which that kind of worries me because hydrogen never took off like it was supposed to. So, you got to do something that's scalable unless they're just trying to make this for a niche market. Then you can do whatever the hell you want to do. I am excited for it because I love that they kind of took styling cues from the RX-7. The RX-7 is my favorite Mazda ever made. I think it was just, to me, the RX-7 and the Toyota Supra, the Mach 4 Toyota Supra, are two of the most iconic cars ever built. But if you ask any at least tuner like us, like Supra, the RX-7, and I'll even throw in the GTR Spec V2 from 2002. Those three cars are iconic to the tuner worlds. And so the fact that they got some styling cues from RX-7, that makes me giddy because it's like, yo, you're throwing some love back to that old school car. I think it'll be a game changer because the rotary engine was a game changer on its own. It was a great design idea, but the practicality of it just wasn't there yet. But I think with them tying it to hybrid, I think they're going to work out all the negative issues they had with the rotary engine, and it's going to be a work of art. Because if you really look at the design concept of the rotary, it was brilliant. It was unheard of, and it was brilliant. We had never seen anything like that. I mean, a centrifugal motor, like that is nuts. So I think throwing the hybrid powertrain on there is really going to it's going to draw the glare from all the misconceptions with the rotary, like how bad it was, the bad fuelage, the burning of the oil, stuff like that. So I think this is a chance for the rotary to make its inevitable comeback, because I've seen rotary builds, dude. Like, there's this Australian guy. He has a it was a Miata, I think.
Mad Mike.
I don't know if it's Mad Mike, but this guy has a 4-rotor engine that I've never seen anything like it before in my life, and this thing sounds like it sounds like if God spoke. The way the motor sounds, like I've never seen anything like it. And he's just like, when I decided to do this build, I knew I wanted to do a rotor because the sheer amount of power you can get out of something so small. And he has like 2 big ass turbos on it, and this motor is seriously, it is a work of art. So I think this would be the comeback for the rotary engine that Mazda has been hoping for. So I'm excited. 2 new cars from 2 well-known car manufacturers. I'm excited for the Prelude because again, I love Honda. I love their sports cars. The NSX will always hold a near and dear spot in my heart. I was really disappointed in the new NSX. I was like, you dropped the ball with this. Like, you had so much potential and it was a dud, and that broke my heart. And I was super excited for the Integra when it came back. I literally, I own a Stinger now. And before I got my Stinger, I really considered the Integra. I was like, man, it's a 6-speed. I love the Integra. It's 4 doors. But man, after seeing it, I was just like, I can't justify spending the money on this. Like, it didn't capture my soul like I thought it would. And I was very disappointed. It's kind of like you said, like Honda here has been lately reviving old names, but it's not capturing that nostalgia that you're looking for with that old name. So I needed to do a little better. Like, so far, the Civic Type R is our only badass car that they've released here lately. It's like the new Honda Accord. I'm sorry, but personally, that car is ugly to me. Like, it looks like something my grandparents would drive. And I know that's their market right now. I know that's their demographic, but it's like still make it appealing to us young kids out here that still love cars. And so, Honda's making too much grown up shit. Start making comical shit again.
On the note with the Mazda, I will say that if they are modeling it after the MX-5 or Miata, it is the best selling. It's the best selling whatever classification car that is. So Miata is MX-5.
I think it's small compact or sport compact or something like that.
Yeah,
so
it is the highest selling. So if that is the new model, they will continue to sell.
Oh yeah,
even at that price point would be badass. So I just wish it was bigger for me because I won't be able to fit into it.
Yeah.
So
I took Ryan for a ride in the Stinger, and he was pushing. Like, I wanted to see if he could fit in the back seat, because the back seat is where there's no room in my car because it slopes down in the back. And they were like, if you're over 6 foot, you're like this. So, but he was able to, he had to move the seat all the way back on the passenger side. So I assume it's going to be the same for you when I take you for a ride in it. So, but yeah, no, obviously, as you can tell, we love cars. That's our passion. One of our many passions, but it's definitely one of our bigger ones. So, yeah, sorry that one ran a little long. But nah, man, as always, great topics, great stuff we talked about. I love nerding out with you. It's one of my favorite things, dude. And again, listeners, we love y'all tuning in to listen to us nerd out. It's always great to share with fellow nerds, fellow people that just love tech, cars, video games, pop culture, you name it. Anything that's just nerdy. Join us. You'll have a great time.
Nerdy and dirty.
And then obviously, if anybody has any nerd stuff they want us to take a look at, post in the comments below. We'll definitely check it out. And, maybe we can talk about it on the next pod. We're up for anything techie, video game, cars, motorcycles, books, computers. You name it. Anything that just Legos for sure, or if you even want to go with like, me and Joe, like, we're kind of fancy with our alcohol, so if you have like a really cool beer that you stumbled upon and you're like, oh, you guys should check out this beer, we're all about that. So, share your nerd stuff that gets you animated, and we'll definitely check it out with you. So feel free.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care, nerds. Peace.
Later.